Well, I guess you can tell what I'm driving. That's right, the BMW. I've just picked it up, it crank starts. Now it doesn't start well because it's a cold start. But, and it probably doesn't run all that well either until we can get those carbs tuned, but this is a start. We'll go for a bit of a drive a bit later on. For now, we'll just head home. We'll put some fuel in it. So I picked it up this morning, I'm taking it for a bit of a run now. There's a couple of issues. One is sticking brakes, and the other is the electrics are not the best, so that the indicators, I'm not sure whether they're continuing to flash, but I only get one flash on the dashboard to indicate that they're on. I don't know whether they continue to flash and I just don't see that, or whether in fact all I'm getting is one flash. So that could be an issue with the flasher unit itself. Electrics are a bit dodgy though, they always were. So potentially that might mean an issue there. But I'll go through, I'm just going to do a turnaround and head back home again. Let's just pull over. Because everyone's always in a bit of a hurry, and don't necessarily coincide with my need to go slowly. Look, I actually think that you enjoy the drive a hell of a lot more if you are travelling slowly. Now, I don't mean slow. I was actually going the speed limit. It's just that everyone wants to go much faster than the speed limit. And I often find this, I even commented, I think, at one time when I was in the Troopy, saying that the Troopy must look slow, you know, and I suppose old cars do too, so everyone wants to go faster than them. Now, what the mechanic discovered when checking for a roadworthy were a few issues, and the main safety ones were the sticking brakes. And I can smell brake material now, which means that obviously they're sticking on rather than sticking off. So it's just a matter, I think, of seeing if I can force the caliper or the drum brake shoes back and push the caliper in, or the wheel cylinder. But I think it's a matter of pulling them off, stripping them, giving them the once over, depending on availability of parts, and then reassembling. The other issue was suspension, and that is shock absorbers in particular, that they don't actually act to shock. They dampen the shock, but they don't stop the bounce as much as they really should in terms of the way the system is designed. So it's a matter then of having a look at those. I think it's a matter of pulling off the wheels, pulling off the drums and calipers, and having a look at all of that stuff, potentially giving it a refresh. Now, the other thing that I noticed is that it runs fairly hot. Give it a whole cooling system refresh. So potentially, because the radiator looks like it's the original, and at one stage I did cost a recore on that, and it was very expensive. I'm talking about $1,500 or something for a recore, because well, it's copper and it's a fair amount of work to unsolder the tanks from the cooling tubes slash fins, and then make sure that when you put it back together again, as in solder it back together again, it doesn't leak. So that's probably out of the question when there's plenty of radiators available for these cars. And okay, they might be aluminium rather than copper, but if you put something that's slightly larger, you'll overcome that loss of efficiency that you would normally get at a copper radiator. Now, I only hope that you're not getting too much wind. There are the electrics, so random intermittent gremlins. While I've got all of the gauges working properly, I'm not certain that things, like I said, such as the indicators are working correctly. I do believe there's a light bulb out, as in one of the headlights, so it's a matter of fixing that. The wipers don't seem to work. That may be a fuse. And then the other thing, of course, is that door. And I think I've spoken to you about this before, that the lock or latch mechanism release, which is that lift up knob, has broken or pulled loose, and I think that's probably something like one of those busted plastic clips. I haven't seen inside, but I'm assuming that it hooks onto something, another slotted shaft of some sort, and they're often held in place with a little plastic clip. And so the plastic clip may have shattered, meaning that it's pulled out of the slot, but I don't know that until I get it off. Now, the issue, of course, is that in order to get it off, you have to take off the door card. The door card itself is kind of pinned there by the door being shut, if you know what I mean. But I'll show you that in a later video, because we'll have a shot at fixing it. Anyway, just heading home, and it's been nice to kind of have a good ride. I topped her up with some fresh fuel, because the fuel that's in there is a couple of years old, and fuel does go stale. There's still a bit of surging, which I think is to do with carburetor tune. And then of course obviously there are things like that carburetor tune, which we're going to really need to have a look at if we hope to be able to drive a tractable car. I must have a look at the boot. I think I had a spare a Stromberg carb, which was what would have been fitted originally. And if that's the case, it'll be interesting to try that. To see if in fact we end up with a much more drivable car, until such time as we can find ourselves a Weber tuning expert. Thanks for watching.